Welcome back to today's Rebel's Edge for the 19th of August. And boy, we've got a stock that is moving. It has more than doubled overnight. And we're talking about a member of the S&P 500, folks. So this is not a micro cap. Then we've got, of course, volatility, exactly what the Treasury Secretary is doing, and a little sports, all of that on today's Rebel's Edge. Well, Pete, you seem like you're in a good mood today.
Well, the last time I saw a stock move like this, it was a micro cap, and it was absolutely extraordinary. Matter of fact, that one was off the charts because, as you and I both know, we were at the New York side of things. We called it the Green Room down in Chicago at the Options Exchange, and it was all the New York options were moved there. And we had a pharmaceutical name out there, a biotech name out there, that went from $12 on Friday to a little over $100 come Monday. So that's a pretty much of a freak show move. But this move for a company this big is pretty outrageous. I mean, you don't see those kind of moves in an S&P stock ever. It's just amazing.
No, the last time I saw a stock move like that within the S&P, Pete, it was probably Oracle. And then tragedy struck for Oracle, because I remember they popped all the way up over 300, Pete. It made him even richer than Musk for like 12 hours. And then it started rolling back over. And but anyway, Pete and I will break that down for you, folks. Behind me, you see Circa Sportsbook, and that's where we'll be. We've got a little ad coming up for you, but that is what is behind me there, that 3-story sports book, the biggest sports book in the world. He's got 8 of them around the country, Pete. Not all of them that size, folks. Not saying that. But he's got 6 of them, I think, that are outside of Vegas, Pete. He being, of course, Derek Stevens. He and his brother own Circa. But we'll be out there. We'll tell you all about it. But let's dive into macro first, Pete. I'll say the Treasury Department saying that they're going to double the level of government debt buybacks over the next few months. That's one of the reasons that we're seeing the market move like this today, because people were getting kind of itchy, kind of nervous about the treasuries just getting slaughtered every day. And as treasuries go down, interest rates go up. So Secretary Bissett decides he wants to step in and do a little something about that, Pete.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see some of the reactions and so forth. I'll tell you what, I'm going to jump right into where that we were just kind of teasing about what, a stock, an S&P stock. Well, the health sector today. I haven't seen, when you look at the top sectors out there, John, and you see one of them, healthcare, and you see it up 3.5%. That's really influencing the markets. I mean, you've got names like Merck and Medtronic and Pfizer and Lilly and Bristol Myers. I mean, they're all skyrocketing off of this news today on the, basically jumping on and piggybacking on the way up. So interesting to see how that's doing. And actually, that's kind of been a little bit, I think, of a savior of the market to some degree, because you look at the markets, in the pre-market, things were looking a little bit red. And here we are, fairly bright green, at least for now. Things can change in minutes in this market. We all know that.
Absolutely. Well, how about volatility? Did this cause vol to drop back down towards 14, Pete, or is it pushing vol up?
It's getting a lot closer to 14, John. We're at 15.19 right now. It's down about 4% or thereabouts. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, we're closing in on the lowest part of the day. You can see it right there from the chart. But, it's interesting. When you see the S&P moving the way it is in a positive manner, that's when you're not going to see the VIX kind of flying to the upside. You're going to see it kind of drifting back down, and that's exactly what we're seeing today. Really tight. Call it low 15s to upper 15s, but that's the range so far in the day, John. It's pretty interesting. And you know what? It's actually, like I said, it's dipped back fairly substantially. I mean, we're down 4%. So interesting to see how things are moving right now. And the volatility index is just indicating that, well, we're getting a little bit closer to where we could be, which would be maybe kind of a 0.5% move, which is where we essentially are, but maybe even a 1% move if things start to go a little bit higher as we get throughout the day.
Well, let's take a look at a prediction market, Pete, because prediction market, as you can see on your screens, folks, this one is from Polymarket. And we do always try to identify these, Pete. I actually got, I think it was a fake. I think somebody sent me a fake X basically saying, hey, this is a strike. You're using something that's copyrighted. And I was like, well, first of all, we always say what it is, and you can see right on the screen there that this is Polymarket. I don't know why you couldn't use that as a screenshot, Pete, but the Fed decision in September occurs the 16th of September, just before we get to regular September expiration. And right now we're looking at about a 71% chance, nothing, flat as a board. But there is almost 1/3% chance, Pete, almost 1/3% chance that maybe they move rates up in September. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I think that represented very well by those, what those markets are looking like right now at about 25% versus, 71%. And it's been as much as 75% or more. So, yeah, it sure seems like pause makes a heck of a lot of sense, John. That's where the bets are going as well. So it all kind of lines up to what you and I probably would have been thinking anyway, which is, you know what? These guys are probably going to pause in September. We still got October, December, and whatever, getting into January of 2027, but we don't want to look that far out. And by the way, whenever we do look that far out, it's kind of a ridiculous thing because, there's just so many factors going in on this whole thing that it makes it kind of crazy. But September's right around the corner. So I think this is a pretty accurate look at what we're looking at for September.
Well, now let's tell people just a little bit more about what's behind me, Pete. That's Circa. We're going to be out there with our friend Derek and Greg Stevens, the owners of Circa Hotel and Casino. We're going to be out there the 20th and 21st of October. And if you guys would like to join us, there's three handsome guys at RebelCon 2026. Scan that QR code, folks, because I know I said the 20th and 21st, which is when the RebelCon is officially out there. But for those who would like to be out in the pool in the world's largest sports book outdoor area, because they do have that, well, by all means, the 19th, we're going to watch Monday Night Football from the pool.
Not so bad.
And actually, it's more like 6 pools, I think, Pete.
Yeah.
They've got a bunch of swimming pools, folks. They're all right in front of that giant screen, so it's a great way to watch a football game because the guys are 30 feet tall or more on that screen. And then the next day, we start with all kinds of great information about if you want to learn how to trade pre-IPOs, if you'd like to participate in crowdfunding opportunities, if you'd like to hear more about what's going on with quantum or with data centers or with whatever. We've got so many experts out there, folks, and we just basically added one more. Scott Redler is going to be joining us out there. Fabulous dude. He really is. He's a great trader and a longtime friend, and he is going to be out there. And of course, members of our team that teach people every day, like Ryan Mastro and Wayne Razzie, and Chris Sikora. So many of our great editors and instructors are going to be there, Pete. You and I are going to be there, obviously. Mark Lopresti is going to be there. It's going to be a fabulous time. Yeah. And you get a special discounted rate at the hotel if you want to use it. Again, you don't have to. There are VIP packages if you'd like that, to be able to go up to the top, the 60th story of this hotel for a great toast and some book signings and pictures and things up there at the Legacy Club, where he's got, $4 million, Pete, worth of gold bars up there. I mean, they've done it right. out there at Circa. So make sure that you guys, if you can be out there, October 20th and 21st, if you don't already know, during the week, it is much cheaper for rooms. So they've made a special rate available to us and to you if you'd like to come out there. And shoot, it's less than a 1 hour flight from LA or San Francisco. And if you're on the West Coast, super easy. And I'm coming from Puerto Rico, and it's not even that bad from Puerto Rico. So it's a fabulous time. Check it out, folks. Scan the QR code. You can also, by just scanning that QR code, we'll put you into the 3-month free trial of the Rebel Investors Club. And once you're in, I'm telling you, you'll stay in because it's got a whole bunch of great stuff going on.
Yeah.
All right, Pete. Let's take a look at what else is going on in the markets. And you kicked it off with Moderna. So let's hit that.
Yeah.
Phase 3 personalized melanoma vaccine, when teamed up with Keytruda, which is, of course, the Merck MRK product for cancers and so forth. All of a sudden, this thing just put up numbers that were spectacular, Pete. And because of that, the stock went from a $25 billion market cap to $58 billion market cap like that. It's up 125% right now. And it's a member of the S&P 500. Again, this is no micro cap, Pete.
They still need to get approval, but based upon what we are seeing, it looks like that could be a slam dunk, John. So that's why I think we're seeing the kind of move we're seeing today. Which is pulled off of the highs of the day, but it's still ridiculously high. And I don't mean ridiculously that it shouldn't be there, because maybe it should based upon what some of those numbers look like. And obviously, you know, this whole expansion that Moderna has done from vaccines into oncology, and then all of a sudden they've built this thing and have this partnership with Merck. I mean, this is extraordinary. It truly is. And I'll give you a little idea about the implied volatilities, because that's something that you and I, being options guys, can mean a lot to us. If you go out in time a little bit, it's still 140%. It's normally 70 to 80%. It's 140%. But if you go in the near term, it's as high as 340% implied volatility. In other words, these options get a little spendy because of what has happened in the move and how big, 122% right now. It's been up as much as, I think, 145%, John, on the day. So absolutely incredible. And like you said, they have this combined thing with Keytruda. 1,100, which is a very large number for one of these, you know, in the phase 3 category. 1,100 people were part of this whole thing as patients and with high risk. And you know what? The numbers look fantastic. So people are definitely very, very excited about what Moderna has been able to produce along with Merck.
Yeah, and this is a treatment for melanoma, folks, and for people whose tumors had been removed. And the results of this trial look like, as Pete said, that this is going to be something really special for anybody who's had melanoma and had them surgically removed, to basically breathe a sigh of relief, not just getting that tumor out, but the survivability after that. So, you know, thumbs up to everybody at Moderna and Merck, Keytruda, as well as the doctors and nurses running this phase 3 trial. All right, Pete, let's do a little Estee Lauder, EL, because these guys come out with some earnings that are just spectacular. And I do mean spectacular. It just runs to the upside. They beat on the earnings per share side, they beat on the revenue side, and the profit outlook. Also, if they would have lowered profit outlook, we've said it many times, but it would be palms out, because that's looking forward, not backwards. But they didn't do that, and so EL is one of the big movers other than Moderna today.
Yeah, it's spectacular. Now it's 16%. It was 14% just like 20 minutes ago, and now it's up 16%. The stock is flying to the upside. You look at the outlook for the full year, they beat the expectations. They, as you already had mentioned, John, they beat on the earnings. They beat on the revenue. What else do you want? I think the revenue was up about 5 or 6%, if I remember correctly. Organic sales are up 5%. I mean, this is a multi-year kind of a turnaround for Estee Lauder. And I'll tell you what, they're doing a lot of things right. I mean, and you know what? How many times have you and I come in here now during this earnings season and we're seeing results that do look like that? We're seeing this just violent move to the upside. It's why we're at all these record levels. And so could you imagine if somehow we would have a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago by now, had we been able to work things out with Iran, and I'm not blaming the president, I'm blaming Iran, but had we worked that out and oil was maybe down to 73 or 74 as opposed to 85, could you imagine just some of the even bigger earnings blowouts than we're seeing right now? Because certainly some of that is being held back, and I we're seeing nothing but some unbelievable results, but they could have been even bigger had this been something that would have happened. It hasn't, but still, nonetheless, this has been a great earnings season again.
Yeah, just like you said on Kudlow recently, Pete, or with Maria, if you get this inflation genie back in the bottle by virtue of dropping the price of crude oil, you're going to do an awful lot to drive markets into the end of the year. And, fingers crossed, that's what happens. Mm-hmm. All right. We had some unusual activity, Pete, in Nebius Group, NBIS. This is an AI cloud company. Mm-hmm. And when we saw this unusual activity, the stock was $270 a share. And NBIS, there it is, Nebius Group. So it was 270, right? Well, they came in buying puts. And they're buying out of the money puts. How far out of the money, you say? Well, as you can see on the screen there, really about $57 out of the money, Pete?
Yeah.
Well, they ended up doing pretty well on those puts, Pete, because if you take a look at this next slide and how much they made, a 20 lot of those puts purchased for 60 cents, because as you can see on our screen there, that's what they were trading. They went to $3.50. So that means somebody turned $1,200 if they bought 20 of those puts into $7,000. Again, $3,500 twice is $7,000. See that? I'm still pretty good at math, Pete. You can imagine that there were people who had many more than 5 or 10 or 20 of those puts. And for whoever did, it is a great day.
No doubt about it, John. And the reason I think that things are going in the direction that they are, which is down, I'm looking at it right now, down a little over 8.5%, something close to that. This private offering, people are probably a little bit concerned. They're worried about things, but it is amazing how this got sniffed out by that put buying that you were just identifying for people. It is amazing. The stock's been down as much as 12% or more, and here we are. It's kind of come back a little bit, but it's an interesting company, and one of the things that I would still say is a positive, and I'm saying a positive with the stock looking pretty negative right now, but that Q2 revenue growth, John, was over 450% year over year. So on this sell-off, it might be something to consider, to take a look, and maybe it'll take seeing the calls being bought again, like they have been so often in this name. This was a put buy that you were talking about and identified, and here we are down as much as we are, and those puts, as you showed, really would have torqued up in a big way. I would say this, they're still in the right place, I think, at the right time with the AI infrastructure and all the rest of that. So you put all that together, you could say, well, this is not necessarily just a one-off, but somewhat of a one-off, because I think the reason we're seeing it do what it's doing right now is that offering $4.5 billion in convertible senior notes. That's probably pushing this thing down. So maybe when they shake that off, it's time to look at Nebius again.
Yeah, I would say it is, Pete. And if through some panic and or margin selling, somebody pushes it below 227 and perhaps even into the lows of the day, which were pretty ugly, mm-hmm. I think I'm wishing right now I would have pulled the trigger down there, Pete, because NBIS, if you can get this one in that low level, let's see, the low of the day was 213. We're $14 above that right now. I'd love, and I promise you, if I would have bought it at 213, Pete, I'd still be holding. I might start selling some upside calls against it, but I'd still be holding it. Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk about Coherent, CoreWeave, and Lumentum, because optical and AI infrastructure plays, how many times do we got to talk about this, Pete, that we see people over in Korea over-levered yet again in some semiconductor names, in some storage names, as in storage on a computer or on a hard drive like Western Digital, like Seagate, like Micron, infrastructure plays like CoreWeave and some of these others. You know, they just hit them on a daily basis. They do. They hit them again and again and again. And it seems like they just love to do that, Pete. And then 2 days later, boop, to the upside. As soon as the pressure comes off, they pop back to from whence they came.
Well, and what I'm looking at, John, and this makes sense, and I think you'll think it makes sense as well. You look at these names, and they've done extremely well, and they've had these incredible moves to the upside. And we talk about whether it's a Micron or SanDisk or Coherent or CoreWeave or whatever, they've made substantial moves to the upside. And so I think to some degree what we're seeing is people just taking some profits. They're just saying, you know what, I got in at the right time. And the disciplined thing would be listening to Jon and Pete. Hey, maybe you take some off. Maybe you take all of it off. Maybe you take half of it off. But you take some off because you've just seen this thing make an absolute incredible run to the upside. I was looking at this, John, and this is very, very near term for us. Late June, stock was 400. Late July, it was 220. Right now, it's 295. So I think a lot of that movement from 400 down to 220 was folks that were saying, you know what, I've had a great run. This thing, it was up all the way up to 400. All of a sudden, bing, 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 bing. They start taking some of this off, which is the disciplined and smart thing to do. It doesn't mean you got to stay off, because all of a sudden when you see it come all the way back and almost cut in half to 220 from 400, maybe it was time to take another look. But that, I think we're seeing more and more of that, specifically in technology stocks, specifically at this point in time, these AI type stocks, because they have made gargantuan moves to the upside. And yes, we've seen some huge moves back down, usually not all the way back down to the low of the year, but a big chunk of it has been taken. So I think that that's what we're seeing here. And I think, you know, if you were fortunate enough to get it at a pretty high level, or sell it at a pretty high level, that's why I think we're well off that 220. And I'm looking at Coherent right now. It's trading about 293. So if you did get back somewhere close to 220, maybe it was 230, and here you are back at 293, you might be thinking again about what to do because you have caught it. You've been fortunate. And if you're disciplined, you have a great opportunity to put some money in your pocket.
Yep. And it's all about being disciplined about profits, not just cutting losses, folks.
Right.
You got to do both. All right. Well, Pete, time for a little sports.
Yeah.
I know it's one of our favorite parts of the show where we get to take a look at somebody who's done something spectacular in sports. And this guy basically is going after Godzilla because Godzilla is, of course, Shohei Ohtani because he is just the man. We talked about him yesterday. Only Aaron Judge has hit more home runs in the last, 5 years, Pete, or something like that. And no pitcher is even touching this guy. No. But let's take a look at this particular player because PCA, as he's known, Peter Crow Armstrong, did something not too many people have ever done. In fact, no one has ever done this before, Pete. Let's look.
Give this man the MVP, because we have never seen anyone
just
go
give it to him.
Ban with Ohtani like this. Now, as you can see on Kalshi, going into last night, the NL MVP race was as tight as a Tech Bros trousers. And PCA knows if he wants to take down Godzilla, he's got to be ready to answer anything he does, right? Well, first sip out of the game against his crosstown rivals, and PCA makes a statement.
It is a really good offense. Here's a swing and a drive. Right field. It's gone.
and this man clocks the leadoff homer to get the night started. But guess what?
Not
In
bad.
his own game against the Rockies, Ohtani would have an answer. And he would not only club this homer in the 5th inning, bro would then also take one out the inning after that for good measure. Ohtani finished the night 4
For good
5
measure.
with 2 homers and 3 RBI. So it's going to be hard for
Not
PCA
Ohtani.
to top
He's-
this, right? And by the way, if you like elite sports content like this, make sure you're following. 10th inning, game tied with a man on second, and in his own game, PCA has a chance to walk it off.
It's too long. It's to right. That's back. It's gone.
And this man,
It's
with
gone!
the game on the line, hits one off the scoreboard and right
There you
to
go,
walk
just-
it off. And after seeing what Ohtani did in Colorado, PCA decides to match him band for band and does it in style. And also became the first player since 1957 to homer on the very first pitch his team saw in the game and hit a walk-off homer on the very last pitch his team saw in the game.
Not
This
bad.
may go down as one of the closest MVP races we've seen in a while. Just give this
That's right. Wow.
I still give it to Shoho, John. I mean, you know, that's great. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. In any other year, I'd say, well, God, how could you do it? But Ohtani's just that amazing, right? Because of the fact that he's also a pitcher. I mean, you know,
Yep. That's
and
right.
damn good. Not just a guy out there just to fill in, but one of the best in the game. It's just crazy. Absolutely.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt, Pete.
Well, I'll tell you what, John, I thought this was kind of interesting. So you and I oftentimes have referred back to, you know, what's going on in Major League Baseball, the money that's spent, and it's ridiculously spent sometimes. The Mets are a great example. Sometimes it's the Yankees or whatever. But how about the fact that we talk about this all the time? Tampa's one of the lowest paid teams in all of Major League Baseball. So is Milwaukee, right? Well, who has the 2 best records in all of Major League Baseball right now? Those 2. Those 2. So it makes it kind of interesting. Then you see Milwaukee, what happened with them, John. It was amazing. They beat Seattle 22-0. 22-0. I mean, that's crazy. That's a football score. That's not a baseball score. That's a football score. But they did it, and it's just absolutely. It had 3 guys who hit three home runs each. I mean, you know, Milwaukee's got that pitcher too, John, who's throwing the ball with some ungodly heat. I don't know that he was playing yesterday, but I mean, they've got some pieces of the puzzle where these guys have been sitting near the very top or at the very top throughout the whole season, both them and Tampa. And Yankees are trying to, chase Tampa. They just can't quite ever catch up to them. So interesting to see that. I got another one, John, for how about some NFL. I thought this was pretty interesting. Most expensive sports franchises, and it triggered for me to want to take a look at this because we had heard just the other day about what the value is for the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys value presently is $15.5 billion, and we'll come back to that in a second. Who's number 2? It's not just NFL. It's the Los Angeles Lakers. They're sitting there at $12.5 billion. Golden State, another basketball from the basketball league, $11 billion. But then you got the Rams, $10.5 billion. You got the Giants, $10.1 billion. These are the values that they're giving. So 13 of the top 20 are in the NFL. 5 of the top 20 are in the NBA. And 2 of the top 20 are in Major League Baseball, the Yankees and the Dodgers. But what I think is the most interesting thing about this, John, so Dallas has not won a Super Bowl in 30 years. I mean, think about that for a second. That's kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah.
The longest active drought without conference championship appearance. That goes back to the Dallas Cowboys again. Their value last year is now 22% higher than it was last year. It just shows you that somebody out there is probably sniffing around and maybe starting to think about the Dallas Cowboys. How about this? The last thing I'll say about just how dominant the Cowboys are and how they are here and everybody else is somewhere below. Jerry Jones, remember all the flack? You and I got to know the guy. He flew us out there. It was a great experience. Pat Summerall's driving us around. That was the most crazy weekend ever. And we were watching the Giants and the Cowboys from Dallas and from the suite. Jerry Jones caught more flack, John, 1989. You know what he paid for the Dallas Cowboys? You probably remember, but it's $150 million. Oh my God, you're an idiot. You're the dumbest man in all of sports. Well, now it's at $15.5 billion. So I would say that that's a pretty nice, maybe even more than pretty nice. That's an unbelievable return, right?
Right. We're not talking 10xing it, Pete, because 10xing it would be phenomenal, but that would be what, 1.5 billion. He is 100xed it. Amazing. But I would say the only thing missing from the valuations are the Premier League, like for instance, Manchester United, Pete. That's 7-point-something billion. How does that stack up with the rest of it? Well, it would fall out of the top 10, I'll grant you that, because allegedly, Pete, the Bears and the Yankees are tied at about 8.2 billion. But directly behind them, it's Manchester United, Liverpool, and Man City, 7.5, 6.5, and 5.5 billion. And then it falls down, down that list. But oh my, I think we're learning more and more that live sports are where it's at. And you can make a great show like Landman. You can make a great show like Yellowstone or Lioness. And by the way, all three of those are made by Taylor Sheridan.
Doing okay.
Yeah, he's doing okay. But, to have live sports, some people watch on the replays. We all know that. But it's live, and that's the audience that people want. When you're talking about advertisers and the eyeballs that are watching, they're watching that live event, just like on the screen behind me there, folks. They're watching those games live because they're betting on them. Play by play, in some cases. Play by play. So, I think Jerry Jones, Pete, spectacular businessman, did a fabulous job buying them and taking the slings and arrows. And then all he did was, pretty shortly after that, trade Herschel Walker to the Vikings for everything that made him a repeat Super Bowl champion. So he's a pretty good businessman. He might be even better as a sports owner than as a businessman outside of sports. And he did make his money in crude oil. So that's a guy that really knows what he's doing there, Pete.
We need to get a hold of Taylor Sheridan. I think that, he ought to put us in one of these daggone shows. I don't know which one it is, but you and I, can't you see it, John? The two of us riding around on some horses and flying around out there with a bunch of those characters. That would be great.
I'm in. All right. Pete and I are both in, Taylor. So if you're watching this, reach out to us. Pete, we will be back tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time with some more Rebel's Edge. Again, folks, can't say enough. You've got to check out Market Rebellion's RebelCon 2026. It's going to be a fabulous opportunity for you to not only get one of these cool hats, and join the Rebel Investors Club, which gets you discounts on things other than just our offerings on the site, folks. You get discounts to things like this, like RebelCon. But it's going to be a great time. If you scan that QR code now, you can buy either a general admission ticket. They're discounted by $200 from $695 to $495 until September 10th. So it's the 18th right now. You have less than a month to buy those tickets. Obviously, plenty of time to get a great flight, stay in a hotel out there, have a good time, take your significant other to the Sphere at night if you want to see a concert or whatever. It's going to be a great time, folks. Check it out. RebelCon 2026 at Circa Hotel and Casino. And Pete and I will see you tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Bang.